UFC Fight Night Lemos versus Jandiroba is coming up next weekend, and today, guys, I'm going to be breaking down the entire card from start to finish with timestamps if you'd like to skip to any part of the video. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels, and welcome back, like I just said, guys, to another full card breakdown. We're going to be breaking down every single fight. We're going to be talking about betting odds, what I like for betting. We're also going to be talking about fighters that I personally hope would like to win the fight. We're going to be covering everything. I'm a huge fight fan. I bet on fights. If you are new here, we talk about all of those things. With that being said, guys, let's get into the first fight for today. That being Miranda Maverick versus Dione Barbosa, or Diane Barbosa. I don't really remember how to pronounce it. Regardless, we have a little bit of a lower level MMA fight to begin the card. And a lot of people have been really critical about this card, by the way, but there are some sneaky good matchups. So you have Miranda Maverick, of course, is a wrestler and grappler with really good and strong takedowns. The striking isn't good, but I will say it has been improving, but slightly improving, because I'm still really worried about this Jasmine Jastovicius performance. Anyways, like recently, other than that, like I will say, like I said, her striking is improving. Recently, she's shown to have some decent counters, but for the most part, she is just a pressure heavy fighter, wants to take her opponent down. And man, I'm so confused on what to think about Miranda Maverick, because sometimes she comes out and she's like, okay, she's a pretty good flyweight contender. She's not any world beater or anything, but she's pretty good. But then she shows up like Jasmine Jastovicius, and that was one of the worst performances I've seen. But then I think about it, I'm like, okay, I think very highly of Jasmine. This is not going to age well if she loses this weekend. I'm recording this video the Wednesday before you are seeing it. Anyways, let's continue on over to Dione Barbosa. She is an okay striker with decent submissions. I will say, though, this girl's BJJ, I wholeheartedly believe it's overrated. Now, these submissions that she has is against unproven talent. She is primarily like I said, she's a grappler. She is a judo fighter, and she is, though, and this is what a lot of people were talking about. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it in her last five. No, because I have been following her in the LFA, but she is one of the few fighters who have been able to outgrind Karini Silva. So a lot of people are coming in, and with the supposed jiu-jitsu credentials that Dione Barbosa brings in, we've seen her get submissions. But like I said, it's overrated, and I think that was very proven in her last fight. And first of all, I think this Ernesto Karakichi, I always say her name wrong, this fight was an absolute robbery. It was a draw at the very least. I personally believe that Barbosa won the fight, or excuse me, won the first round. If I was judging, I would have scored that at 10-8. So this fight was a draw at the very least, and then she lost the 2 rounds following that. So that was a robbery. But in this fight, she could not finish an opponent who looked like she had no idea what she was doing on the ground. If that doesn't say overrated BJJ, I don't even know what to say. But like I said, it's against unproven talent. A lot of people are coming in, okay, watch out for the judo, watch out for the grappling, watch out for the jiu-jitsu, and it was finally proven in her last fight that it is overrated. I'm not saying she sucks. I'm just saying she's overrated, because if you watch people break down this fighter, they'll be like, oh, you gotta watch out. You don't want to go onto the ground for her. Miranda Maverick takes her down. She could be in a lot of trouble. I don't think that's the case, man. I don't think that's the case. So this is tough, because she is an okay fighter. Miranda Maverick is also an okay fighter. Both fighters are kind of in their prime. Dione Barbosa is exiting her prime soon, and Miranda Maverick is just entering her prime. But sometimes, man, Miranda Maverick shows up, and I'm like, I don't know. But here's the way that I gauge Miranda Maverick, okay? I think she is slightly better than your typical WMMA fighter. I can't say that for Dione Barbosa yet. I don't know. So for now, I am going to be picking Miranda Maverick. I don't even know why I said for now. I'm going to be picking Miranda Maverick, but I don't say that with an overwhelming amount of confidence, but that is going to be my pick for who I would like to see. Honestly, I'd like to see Dione Barbosa win, because she's more promotable. She'd bring more eyes to the UFC, obviously, if you have to have some of these fights on the card. No hate towards Miranda Maverick, but I've been watching this chick over in the LFA, and I would like to see her continue the role. I don't really care that much, but let's take a look at the betting side of things over here. You have Dione Barbosa sitting at almost a 2-1 underdog. Kind of makes sense. I wouldn't argue that. There's nothing else to mention that. I do like the over 2.5. I love, guys, if you're new here on the channel, a big fan over here of 1.5 round lines, but I don't like that. Especially with someone who maybe could get a submission. Watch it just happens, dude. Could you imagine? Watch it just happens now after I said all of that our BJJ is overrated. Miranda Maverick goes for a takedown, gets guillotine choked. Could you? Oh, that's going to be crazy if that happens. But anyways, I don't mind the bets. My pick is going to be Miranda Maverick. Now, guys, let's keep going up the card to the next fight. And this is a fight that I'm actually quite excited for. We have Mohammed Usman versus Thomas Petersen. Now, two fighters where I'm a little bit unsure where they exactly fit into the division. So, of course, we all know Mohammed Usman at this point. He's Kamaru Usman's brother. He was a football player who has now transitioned to MMA. So, he is one of those guys who is big, he's heavy, he's really, really strong, and you get the point. He shows it in the octagon. He has huge power. He likes to stay on the outside. He can wrestle, but one thing is he doesn't have good striking defense, and that was really, really shown in his last fight, okay? Really shown. We're going to be talking about that. But anyways, we have Thomas Petersen. Been watching Thomas Petersen for a very, very long time. He was the LFA heavyweight champion. He is a strong wrestler with poor hands. When on the ground, though, he has proven to be quite a bit of trouble for his opponents. He is heavy. He uses his strength very well, and he is very good at grounding, pounding his opponents and using control. So what's interesting for me about this fight is when these two actually collide, who's going to be stronger? That I don't really know. If I had to assume, I would say Mohammed Usman, but that I don't really know. So Thomas Petersen, the train, coming off the Contender Series, he got a really nice win against Chandler Cole, but the thing is, his opponent was extremely I'll say it, man, he's fat and unathletic. He got a takedown, won the fight. Like, it was just completely unimpressive. But even then, though, in the LFA when he was heavyweight champion, okay, nothing really stood out to me. Like, he's gotten the same kind of wins, and he actually got knocked out by Waldo Cortez Acosta, which isn't a good loss to have, in my opinion, but even then, that's just 2 years ago. Then he came into the UFC, got his first loss. Mohammed Usman, though, here's the thing. I don't know how many people, I don't really know what people think of Mohammed Usman, but I think that Mohammed Usman is better than your bottom of the barrel heavyweight, but he will lose to the top of the division handily, okay? The Jake Collier fight, man, like, I'm looking at him kind of like, these last two performances didn't look good to me. The Jake Collier fight, 9 out of 10 times Collier would have won this fight. Usman just jabbed his fingers into his eyes so hard that it changed the entire fight. When that wasn't taking place, Collier was piecing him up, and that doesn't even really say anything good about you. But then the Mick Parkin fight, oh boy, this was a close fight, okay? It was a slow-paced, it was a striking match. He refused to check, like, over 30 leg kicks. I don't remember what the exact number was, but I think it was over 30. Just straight up refused to check him. Mohammed Usman is okay when he's circling. He's okay when he's on the offense. But this dude has proven that his defense, and especially in his last fight, and my point, the reason why I bring up the last fight is I like to look at recent performances because you can evolve. Mohammed Usman isn't evolving. He's 35 years old. How much better is he going to get? But Thomas Petersen has really, really bad hands, but really, really good ground and pound. Like, I'm excited for this fight for those reasons, but it's a very, very tough fight to pick. I am going to pick Mohammed Usman. I want to say that he'll be the stronger guy. If Thomas Petersen wants to take him down, he can absolutely probably take him down, but Mohammed Usman is a big, strong guy. Thomas Petersen, probably a little bit hungrier, 29 years old. This is tough. Mohammed Usman will have a reach advantage. Thomas Petersen is going to have a significant weight advantage, but Mohammed Usman's in better shape. Tough fight, man. Very, very tough fight to pick. I'm going to lean towards Mohammed Usman. He's going to be my pick. Let's see what the odds are, man. And for who I'd like to see win, I'm picking Thomas Petersen, man. Or for somebody that I would be cheering for. Not a fan of Mohammed Usman, man. Especially when he's cheating against Jake Collier. Anyways, you can see Thomas Petersen sitting at a slight underdog. That's how I like it too, personally. I think it should be a little bit closer to a pick'em, to be honest with you. But I get that, man. Coming in from the LFA, didn't look so good then. Contender Series, subpar win. Got a not so great performance won his UFC debut. So I guess that makes sense, man. The over 2.5 is an interesting one. Definitely not for heavyweights. I don't like that. But then again, I can see it being a slow-paced fight. Very, very fun fight, though. I can't wait to watch it. Let's keep going, guys. Up into the next fight, we have Cody Durden versus Bruno Silva. Now, when I was talking about some sneaky good fights on the card, this is one of the fights that I have been talking about. You have Cody Durden, who is a powerful, powerful wrestler with that typical wrestler overhand. He's pretty good, but at the end of the day, he just wants to dive at you. He wants to wrestle you. He wants to break you down. He has great control, fantastic scrambles, and he does have BJJ in his back pocket, and he's one of those fighters with all of the heart in the world, I'll say. And I think it was after the Jake Hadley fight, I think. He said that he would rather die than tap out, but, I mean, funny enough, he got submitted in his next fight. But still, the dude has all of the heart in the world. He says that he is willing to die in that octagon, and he shows it in his fights. Cody Durden is a very, very exciting fighter. And you have Bruno Silva, who honestly, I don't have too much to say about Bruno Silva because Bruno Silva is just a very well-rounded fighter. He can do a little bit of everything. So the big question when it comes to this fight is, how is Bruno Silva going to hang with the pace and the chain wrestling of Cody Durden? I think that he can. I think that he will do an okay job doing so. But I think that Cody Durden will ultimately get the better of him. I think Cody Durden's a very underrated fighter. I don't think he's a world beater or anything, but like, he's had some really, really nice wins. And don't get me wrong, like, just a loss to Tagir Ulanbekov, it's a really good loss to have on your resume. But before that, he's had some great fights against great opponents: Jake Hadley, Charles Johnson, Carlos Mota, JP Buys. Like, and I know like JP Buys is a little bit of a strange one there. Not necessarily strange, it's just the level of competition changes a little bit. But man, like, Cody Durden has faced some competition. He's looked good doing so. Has a little bit of everything. The striking technique could improve a little bit, but there is the chance that Bruno Silva could chin him. But I don't even think that Cody Durden's gonna get chinned in this fight. I don't have a ton to break down about this fight, man. I think it's gonna be Cody Durden trying to wrestle Bruno Silva, trying to keep it on the feet. Can Bruno Silva chin him? If not, then I think Cody Durden's going to get the win. So my pick is going to be Cody Durden over here. And I would also like to see Cody Durden get the win. Fan of the guy. He's always an absolute blast to watch. But honestly, Bulldog's a great time to watch too. Let's take a look over at the betting odds over here. Cody Durden sitting at a small favorite. I like that as well. Now, I also like the over 1.5. But of course, Odds Jam doesn't have that up. Are they even going to offer it? We don't know. Regardless, sorry about that, guys. I don't think I had too much to say about that fight, but I'm very excited for that one. That's one of the fights that I'm looking forward to most on the card. But speaking of great fights, guys, we have our first stinker of the card, and that is going to be Luana Carolina versus Lucie Pudilova. Used the wrong scene. Bound to do that one time, guys. By the way, for those of you who enjoy watching the channel regularly, which I appreciate you being here, by the way, I don't know how this is going to look, okay, because it's a full screen over here, but I've been playing around with this new window kind of set over here where it's like trying to make things look a little bit fancy. I can change the shadow a little bit. So honestly, always looking for constructive criticism on the channel. So if this is like a nice picture that you guys would like to see instead of typically what I do over here, let me know, because I'd be down to like switch things up a little bit. Maybe make one video like this, maybe make another video. Like, even if you want me, I don't think the quarter looks good personally. Wow. I am just not caring about this fight at all. I'm talking about my OBS scenes if anybody cares. But honestly, guys, if you have any input on that, I would appreciate that. I'm trying to make the channel the best it can possibly be. But anyways, Luana Carolina, Lucie Pudilova. Oh, man. Luana Carolina is a decent striker who does an okay job keeping fights on the feet. On the ground, she isn't horrible, but again, she prefers to stand. She prefers to keep things busy on the feet, and she's taking on Lucie Pudilova, who is... she's a powerful striker for the division. She has really nice straight shots, and she does wait around, though. Sometimes can be low volume. She picks her shots. She can be out-grappled, but at the end of the day, she does have a lot of heart. She has a lot of heart, and she proved that in her last fight, where she kind of got dominated against Aylin Perez. 14-9 kind of speaks for itself, man. Hasn't looked good. She got signed to the UFC, got one win, then lost to Jocelyn Edwards, lost to Aylin Perez, and I don't even know how people are really feeling about Aylin Perez, but I don't think that's a good loss to have either. And Luana Carolina, on the other hand, man, like, she's fought some okay competition. She's won some, she's lost some. Not a ton to say over there, man. Like, it's probably going to be on the feet, this fight. I don't see anyone taking each other down. Lucie Pudilova will probably be a little bit better technically, if I had to guess. The straight shots getting through, but this should be a pick 'em fight. I have no idea who's going to win this fight, and to be honest with you, I don't really care who's going to win this fight. Let's take a look at the betting odds for this video. Oh, actually, the odds jam might be a good time to do this, actually. Hey, look at that. Look at that. Actually, that's probably a good scene to do odds jam with. Anyways. Oh, you have Luana Carolina sitting at a little bit of an underdog over here. Makes sense to me. Oh, man, the over 2.5 on this is minus 500. That's actually wild, dude. I wonder how much time I actually spent breaking down that fight. Now, guys, let's move on over to the next fight. It's quite an interesting fight, in my opinion, actually, because we have Brian Kelleher, the return of Brian Kelleher, taking on Cody Gibson. So, Brian Kelleher is a well-rounded fighter who wants to come out and violently finish his opponents. Typically, what I would say in the past about Brian Kelleher is he's much better than his record shows. And I would say as a fighter, he is better than his record shows because he has fought a lot of amazing competition. You can see that he's 24-15. Just look at these fighters that he has taken on, even just in his last couple. But the problem is, Brian Kelleher is clearly aging, and the loss to Cody Garbrandt looks really bad. really, really bad. So I think that Brian Kelleher at this point is obviously past his prime, but Cody Gibson is also up there in age, also with a not such a great record, but he had a little bit of a career resurgence. He's a good striker. He does a really good job with his length. It's crazy seeing these two actually matched up, and you see it's kind of like a little bit of a blast from the past. But anyways, Cody Gibson also has nice technique. He has a ton of heart, always has the will to get the win. But Cody Gibson, since coming back to the UFC, and the dude's been all over the place because he's taking on some good competition outside of the UFC as well. You can see John Dodson and Ray Borg, but then had one more win after that. But then, of course, bouncing back into the UFC, he had a fantastic, absolutely fantastic display against Brad Katona. One of those fights where it's like, it's a shame that one of them had to lose. And the Miles Johns one was, it was an okay performance. It wasn't a bad performance, but regardless, Cody Gibson, here's the way that I'm looking at it right now, guys. Cody Gibson still has it. I don't think that Brian Kelleher necessarily has it, but the problem is, when you have a Brian Kelleher, somebody who wants to come out and somebody who wants to make the fight a war and finish you, that's always something you got to worry about, but I think that's going to work against him with Cody Gibson. I think Cody Gibson can match the war that Brian Kelleher is going to bring, and I think Cody Gibson is going to outstrike Brian Kelleher. I think that he's going to use his length. He uses his length very, very well, and he's going to have a significant advantage over here. So I am pretty confident in Cody Gibson to get the win in this fight. Let's take a look at what the betting odds are, but first, I think I'd cheer for Cody Gibson. I don't really care too much who wins, but anyways, we're going to use this over here to take a look, and you can see that Cody Gibson sitting at a sizable favorite over here. I think that makes sense. I think those are proper odds. Not really ones that I'm willing to throw money on. Maybe we'll figure out some kind of parlay to do, but I'm strongly considering betting on Cody Gibson. I don't know what I'm going to do for this card yet. I have no idea at the moment. Now, guys, let's keep moving up the card over to the next fight. We have Haider Amil taking on Jiang Yong Lee. Now, Haider Amil, I've been watching for a very, very long time. Happy he's in the UFC. I know we've seen him already, but I'm happy to see him in the UFC, and I'm interested to see how he's going to do because he's a fighter that has been training. He's training over the guys like Jake Shields, Gilbert Melendez. I like following that camp personally. He is a good, aggressive striker with a lot of power, a lot of cardio, and a lot of heart. He has an okay ground game, but it's far from useless, don't get me wrong. He has pretty good scrambles. He has good BJJ defense. The only thing I will say that Haider needs to work on, and it's been shown in a couple of his recent fights, where he needs to work on his finishing instincts. Sometimes he'll have an opponent hurt, and just he'll lack that extra little like oomph to get the job done. You know what I mean in that sense? Like, so a lot of other fighters would be in Haider Amil's position. Haider would do a good job hurting his opponent, getting his opponent in trouble, and just not be able to quite get there, in my opinion. Now, in my opinion, we have seen Haider Amil lose. I thought the fight with on the Contender Series against Amra Sonmez was a robbery decision. But at the end of the day, I was still impressed with him. I like his technique. I like what I've seen. He's taken on the Korean Tiger, Jiang Yong Lee. He is a very well-rounded fighter who excels when he is at range in a striking match. I will say, though, he does need to work on his head movement and damage control. But, I mean, he's looked good so far. I mean, other than that, he does everything pretty well. He's a very well-rounded fighter. But, honestly, guys, this is tough because both of these guys are pretty good prospects. I worry because Haider Amil, and I know he is relatively inexperienced for MMA. I know his body hasn't been through a lot. He's looked good, and he's fought some decent competition as well. Like, I've been watching him over in the LFA, and some of these guys that he's taken on have been pretty good. He looked good in the Contender Series, even though, in my opinion, that was a robbery. Then he looked good against Fernie Garcia. I will say that's not quite the UFC level win that we're looking for over here, but the day is going to come where Haider Amil is going to start slowing down because he is 34 years old. He's taken on a very, very hungry Korean Tiger that's 28 years old, almost 29. I'm going to be riding with Haider Amil still. I'm going to be riding with him. I like what I've seen from him. I've been watching him for a while. Jiang Yong Lee looks promising as well. You got to worry. Like, Jiang Yong Lee, though, is one of those guys that you have to worry about when you have a reach advantage. He might use that, but I don't know. I like both fighters are kind of well-rounded. I don't know. Haider Amil I've just been more impressed with. I'm going to pick him to win. This card is a little bit all over the place, eh? These last few cards that we've been picking is a little bit tough. And for who I would like to see win, guys, I would like to see the Hurricane get the job done. I like Gilbert Melendez a lot and the camp that those guys have going on over there. So I'd like to see him get the job done. Let's see the odds over here and using the wrong buttons. Look at me go. Pro YouTuber over here. You can see, wow, Haider Amil's the underdog. Interesting. I actually wouldn't have expected that. Might consider throwing a play on that. Over 2.5. Don't know how I'm feeling about that either. I don't know how I'm feeling about these round lines this time around, guys. But very, very interesting fight. Let's move on to the next fight, though, guys. And this fight, out of the entire card, I am personally most excited for. We have Loic Razdabov taking on Trey Ogden. I love watching both of these guys fight. You have two guys who are very, very strong wrestlers, and I cannot wait to see them go at it. But sometimes you get the striking match out of the double wrestler matchup, but I hope that's not the case. You have Loic Razdabov, who is a heavy, non-stop wrestler. Striking, unfortunately, can be pretty sloppy, but he definitely carries good power in his hands. He has good cardio. He has heart, but sometimes he does struggle being on the back feet. He's really, really good when he's the aggressor. Unfortunately, if Trey Ogden is going to push the pace on him and he allows that, that's where Loic Razdabov really suffers. The other thing, and that we've kind of recently learned about Loic Razdabov, is he absolutely refuses to check leg kicks or block punches properly. He gets by on his toughness. He does a good job doing so. But it's not going to last forever. He's almost 34 years old, okay? You have Trey Ogden, who I am extremely high on. I think he's so much better than his 17-6 record, man. He is a grappler who has very underrated power on his feet. But of course, the main game plan for Trey Ogden, who wants to take you down. He's really good. He does a really good job at knocking you down, finding a submission instead of just blindly shooting like you'll see some of these wrestlers do. Instead of just going for random takedowns, he will try to kind of knock you down. He has an excellent jab. He's also really good at using his opponent's momentum against him. And that's why I'm really interested in this fight in particular, because if Loic wants to come forward, Trey Ogden is really good at, like, if somebody's coming towards him, he'll get under those feet really quick. Like, I think he's really good at what he does, man. I like Trey Ogden a lot. Unfortunately, he's also aging. And this is in the lightweight division. It's not where you can get by on this in this old age, like at 205 or heavyweight. I can't wait to see what these wrestling exchanges are like, man. So on the feet, I really do think that Trey Ogden can piece up Loic Razdabov, but the wrestling, that's the problem. I want to say that Trey Ogden can get it done. I want to say that he can get on top. I want to say that he can work. But Loic Razdabov is a very underrated wrestler as well. He's pretty heavy. He's just wants to come in, wants to take you down. Here's the thing. I can also see a scenario where these two kind of cancel out each other's wrestling. And then if it stays on the feet, Trey Ogden will just piece him up with a jab over and over again. Eventually, these guys are going to slow down, and I think the jab reach matters with Trey Ogden. I think that goes towards him a little bit too. And the other thing, and this is the reason why I'm ultimately going to pick Trey Ogden to win this fight, is because Trey Ogden has taken on such better competition. Such better competition. He should be 18 and 6. That's what it would be if it was a no contest. The Nicholas Mata fight was a ridiculous call. Anyways, just take a look at these last 5 that he's taken on. Amazing competition. Compare that to Loic Razdabov, who has a good record. What can you say? Mateusz Rebecki, and he lost that fight? I don't know, man. I'm going to be picking Trey Ogden to get the win here. I can see a world, though, where the wrestling doesn't really work out. But I think that Trey Ogden's going to get done, man. I hope Trey Ogden gets the win, too. I love watching him fight, but I like watching Loic Razdabov, too. Nothing wrong with that. But anyways, you can see, wow, okay. Picking another underdog over here. Trey Ogden's sitting at a little bit of plus money. I don't know what the proper odds are for this fight. Over 2.5, I don't mind that either. I don't really see these guys finishing each other. Yeah. If there's an over 1.5 round line, I'll consider hitting that. But regardless, sneaky banger. I can't wait for that fight. Now, guys, as you know, I do talk a lot about betting and fight predictions on this channel. If you are interested to see exactly where I'm putting my money, where my mouth is, either that or just supporting the channel, you can check out the channel memberships in the pinned comment description down below or right next to the subscribe button. It's very cheap compared to other channels. Every single Thursday or Friday before events, I will be posting a members only video and a YouTube community post explaining what exactly I'm doing with money and why. If you'd like to combine that with your own research, or if you want to support the channel, I would appreciate it. Thank you for listening. And also, the tool that we've been using right here, OddsJam. Fantastic website if you have multiple sports books. Very up to date with all the odds. They're great at what they do, and if you want a discount signing up for OddsJam, you can check the pinned comment description down below. Again, you can get a discount signing up for OddsJam using code Clenbat. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Let's get into the main card. Let's keep going up the card, guys, to another really good fight. We have Steve Garcia versus Sung Woo Choi. Anytime Steve Garcia's in there is a really good time, man. So, Steve Garcia is a grappler who walks forward with huge power shots with, decent technique. He tries to take you down. When on the ground, his goal is to absolutely just shut your lights off. He's super tough. He has a lot of heart. He's taking on Sungwoo Choi, who is primarily a striker. He does have takedowns in his back pocket, but he is primarily a striker who kind of excels at leg kicks. And that's really all there is to him. So you have Steve Garcia, who's going to make the fight really dirty. I'm not saying that Steve Garcia comes in there with absolutely no technique, but he'll make you fight. He'll make you fight. And Sungwoo Choi is a little bit more patient than that. So I'm interested to see how this matchup goes. It's kind of like your typical grappler versus striker matchup. I think if it stays on the feet, Sungwoo Choi is going to get the win. And if it stays on the ground, Mean Machine's going to get the win. Sungwoo Choi finally broke his 3-fight losing streak. And I will say, though, I wasn't necessarily loving the 3 fights over there, but then he got the win over Jarno Aarons over here. Steve Garcia is riding quite the quiet win streak, to be honest with you. He got a really good win over Chase Hooper, and man, that was unfortunately brutal. And then he got the nice TKO against Shaylin, Durden, and Becky, and then Milkwizzle Costa. And I think these are really, really good wins to have. And I think Steve Garcia is a underrated fighter at the moment. I think that Sungwoo Choi is probably properly rated, to be honest with you. Guys, here's the thing. I know it's a striker versus grappler thing, and I know that Sungwoo Choi isn't useless on the ground, and I know that he'll probably excel on the feet a little bit, but I like the win streak against the competition that I've seen from Steve Garcia so far, and even the Chase Hooper win, like even just almost 2 years ago. Chase Hooper's proven to be quite a great fighter, even though I understand there's improvements to be made, but I really like this quiet win streak that he's been on. I know we had a hiccup, but still, like, I think that Steve Garcia is a pretty underrated fighter, and I'm going to pick him to win this fight. I think he'll get down to the ground, and I think that he's going to do what he usually tries to do. It's like the killer instinct really helps. And I'm going to pick Steve Garcia to win this fight. I would also like to see him win, but I also like Sungwoo Choi. I like both guys. I do. Let's see what the odds are, man. Let's see what the odds are talking about over here. You have, okay, this is weird. Why is there 2? It doesn't matter, really. Anyways, you have Steve Garcia sitting at a slight favorite. I actually would consider hitting that. Consider. I'd have to think about it a little bit more. But regardless, very, very fun fight. Anytime Steve Garcia is there, I'm here to watch, dude. Let's move on to the next fight. We have Do Ho Choi versus Bill Algeo. Guys, been a big fan of Do Ho Choi since the Cub Swanson fight. And that actually, it's unfortunate to see in his career because you can see that unfortunately it's just been losses after that. And we know that he went back for, I believe it was the mandatory military training. He was gone, and he wasn't gone because of injury or anything. He was gone because he had that mandatory service that they have over there. But the Korean Superboy came back and ended up getting a majority draw against Kyle Nelson. And funny enough, that was both their recent performances, so you could compare it there. But Do Ho Choi, man, he is a well-rounded fighter, decently well-rounded fighter. He excels at striking. I wish I could say that he has all the heart in the world. He still kind of does. He's more than capable of participating in a brawl and coming out. But I think that, I don't know, man, could have been ring rust. It's tough because he didn't look like the same Do Ho Choi against Kyle Nelson. That's what I believe, kind of. But even then, even his losses before, like, unfortunately, he was KO'd, man. Maybe I think the war with Cub Swanson really took it out of him. But he's not, I'm not saying he's washed or anything. I'm just saying I don't think it's necessarily the same fighter. Anyways, speaking of fighters aren't the same, I think that Bill Algeo has been also, not washed. That's not what I mean to say. Just losing it a little bit. He is a karate-based fighter. He has good movement. He has really good volume. He has grappling in his back pocket. He has good cardio, and he's very durable, fairly durable, with a lot of heart. He's a good fighter, man, but he had a horrible performance against Kyle Nelson. It was a controversial stoppage, but I will die on this hill. I think that it was a perfectly good stoppage. Even then, he was behind the whole time. He didn't adjust his game plan. He kept calling Kyle in when he got rocked instead of defending. It was just a really, really bad performance here. And Bill Algeo's definitely, like I said, he's not washed or anything, okay? I just think that the more we've seen him, and I know that he has more wins and losses recently. I know, but like, look at the competition that he's facing, really, and he's looking a little bit worse, in my opinion. But Do Ho Choi's kind of looking like the same thing. Let's assume they're at their best. Striking match, it's going to stay on the feet. I almost think that Bill Algeo would be able to pick him apart. But I think that Bill Algeo is declining more than Do Ho Choi is. But in saying that, man, I'm not so impressed with the Korean Superboy as of right now. This is one of those fights that when the betting guide comes out, it's going to be stay far, far away from this one. I don't know who's going to win this fight. I have no clue. Oh, man. I want to say Bill Algeo. I do. But he looked so bad in his last fight. Oh, man. Do I do it? Do I pick Doo Ho Choi? I'm going to pick Doo Ho Choi. I'm going to give him one more chance. I'm going to give Doo Ho Choi one more chance. Although I do think this should be a pick'em fight. I really do. And I wholeheartedly, dude, nothing would warm my heart more to see Doo Ho Choi get a win after so long. Coming off of those losses, coming after the military service, coming back to a draw. That's tough. That's tough. Let's take a look at the odds over here. You can see Bill Algeo is a slight favorite. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. It's a tough fight, man. I wholeheartedly believe this should be a pick'em, though. Very fun fight. I always like watching both of these guys fight. Can't wait to see it. Now, guys, let's move on over to the featured fight, that being Kurt Holobaugh versus Kenan Kruszewski. Now, I know I'm saying that name wrong. I'm going to stick with Kenan. That's what I'm going to go with. So, we have Kurt Holobaugh, who is an aggressive volume striker with really good combinations, but he does have an all-around game. Like, he's a really good fighter. And you have Kenan, who is a Muay Thai and BJJ fighter who hits hard. Extremely hard. He likes to keep his opponents at bay. Sometimes, though, I will say he does overcommit to his strikes, but also sometimes, like, the overcommission does work out for him because he hits hard. I'm just saying sometimes he leaves himself out there, and a guy like Kurt Holobaugh can definitely catch him with a few shots while he's overextending over there. So this is another one of those fights that's really interesting to watch because they're both in a pretty interesting place in their career. You have Kenan, who got a nice win on the Contender Series. It was a decent outing, but then he got knocked out by Elvis Brenner. Then you have Kurt Holobaugh, who re-entered the UFC after getting a few wins and then got a nice win, which was an okay performance against Austin Hubbard, but then he had the Trey Ogden fight, but then that's also a really good loss to have. I think that this is going to be a fairly competitive fight. I actually don't mind the over 1.5 for this. I'm interested to see if there is a line for it. Kurt Holobaugh, though, is almost 38 years old. He's almost 38 years old. I think he's a little bit more proven as a fighter. Another tough fight. Another tough fight. I'm going to lean towards Kenan because there is more of a danger aspect for him. I think if he wants to open up the ground game, that could be an option for him. Kurt Holt, like if the striking isn't going well for him, I believe that he has a better ground game than Kurt. But Kurt also has a pretty good ground game himself. It's just, I think that Kenan will be a little bit better. I think he'll have the more options. He's going to be younger. I don't know who's going to be hungrier to win this fight, but I'm going to pick Kenan to get the win over here. And if I pick another underdog, man, it's going to be crazy. To be honest with you, I don't really care who wins this fight. Now, let's see. Okay. We're sitting pretty. We're sitting pretty over here. We have Kenan sitting at a almost, or 150, almost 200 favorite, kind of not really. But anyways, I like those odds. I think that's kind of proper. I think it should be a little bit closer to a pick'em, but the over 2.5 is minus 138. Another tricky fight. These past few cards, man, have been pretty tough, to be honest with you. All right, guys, let's move on to the co-main event. You know how I said that the earlier fight I was most excited for to watch? This one might beat it. This one just might beat it. Brad Tavares versus Jun Young Park. I think this is incredible matchmaking, and I can't wait to see if Jun Young Park can get the takedown or if Brad Tavares can keep things going on the feet. Because you know that's going to be the goal. It's not necessarily a striker versus grappler, but it's more of a game plan thing for both guys, right? You have Brad Tavares, who is a good striker, who, like I said, wants to keep fights on the feet. He has extremely good takedown defense, but if he is on the ground, he can hold his own. He has a lot of high level experience. Like he's better than his 29, a little bit better than his 20-9 record. He doesn't always get the job done, but he's very tough. You can never count him out. Just don't let his record fool you. He's fought amazing competition. He's taken on Jun Young Park, who is a controlling grappler with decent striking, decent cardio. His goal will be to get his opponents to the ground and try to submit you. He has magnificent heart. He will fight through any little bit of adversity you throw his way. And if you try to get an advantageous position on him, he will make it absolute hell for you. You might be able to do it, but it's not going to be easy. I love this fight. I love this fight. Okay. Is it the fight that I'm looking? Yeah, I'm looking forward to this fight most because I just got more excited to talk about it. Unfortunately, Brad Tavares, like I said, don't let his record fool you, man, because take a look at these opponents that he's taking on, right? Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Brad Tavares is better than his record, but Brad Tavares is also aging. Jun Young Park finally got that win streak broken against Andre Muniz, but it was a split decision. It was a tough fight, and the biggest takeaway from this is The dude has some heart. But in saying that, I think this fight just perfectly describes Jun Park and why I'm personally a big fan of his. Like, he was getting taken down and controlled over and over again, but not once did he stop trying to fight back. Not once did he accept position and kept trying to win. That's what I love about fighters like that. But most importantly, how the hell is this fight going to go? Can Jun Park take him down? Or is Brad Tavares going to be able to keep this on the feet and kind of try to chop him down a little bit? But even if, I'm not so confident that Brad Tavares is going to outstrike Jun Park. I'm not that confident about it. The Chris Weidman performance really left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth because we know that Chris Weidman is absolutely washed and that should not have been, I'm not saying it was a close fight, but he should have dominated Chris Weidman. Should have. Then he lost Gregory Rodriguez, which was, it was an okay fight. But anyways, I don't know, man. I think this is a little bit more of a gut feeling, but I think Jun Park's going to get it done. I like his groundwork a lot more, but even if it's on the feet, I feel like he'll just outwork Brad Tavares. I do. Plus, you got to worry about Brad Tavares aging now. I'm not ready to count Jun Park out yet. I know he's just gotten his win streak broken, but I'm going to give him another chance over here. I'm going to be officially picking the Iron Turtle to get the win. I hope that he wins this fight. I'm a big fan of him. I like Tavares too, but man, I love watching the Iron Turtle fight. Let's take a look at the odds over here. You have Jun Park sitting at almost a 2-1 favorite. That's understandable. I think he's had better performances recently. Even in his last fight. Like I don't want to say you could argue that he's on a big win streak, but I haven't seen a bad performance from him recently. So that makes sense. I don't know if I want to bet. I don't know what I'm going to be betting on this card, guys. Really, really tough card to bet on. Now, guys, let's move on to the greatest main event in UFC history. We have Amanda Lemos taking on Virna Jandiroba. Now, this actually isn't a bad fight. I don't like the fact that this is the main event. I guess not exactly breaking news for the MMA community, right? So you have Virna Jandiroba, who has looked pretty good. And I don't know about you guys, but I always forget that she's 36 until I look at it. I always forget that she's old. She looks like in my opinion, she looks like she's almost 30. I don't know. But anyways, she is a come-forward striker who just wants to get her opponents to the ground. She's pretty durable. She does a good job eating shots to just get close to you, grab you, chuck you down to the ground. And she does an okay job doing so. She's coming off a really good, I don't mean really good performance. I mean really good fighter for the division because not a lot happened over here. It was just 2 months ago against Lupe Godinez. Got the win over here, but the fight, honestly, it could have went either way. Before that, she's had some okay wins. Like, I think the Marina Rodriguez win is good, but although Marina Rodriguez is aging at this moment, Angela Hill, I don't know what you guys are on about in the comments. Angela Hill's not a good win. She's not. She's 13-11. She can win. She has a Michael Johnson effect, okay? She can win sometimes just out of nowhere. Sorry. I just don't understand that. But anyways, her only loss being to Amanda Ribas over almost 3 years ago, and that's a good loss to have in my opinion. She's taking on Amanda Lemos, who has had a rocky road as of recently. She's a Muay Thai fighter, of course. We all know that she has really, really good power for the division. She uses her range very well. Sometimes she lacks fight IQ. That was displayed in her last fight. Other than that, though, she's strong. She's mentally tough. She's a good fighter. Mackenzie Dern. She won the striking exchanges. Here's exactly what I'm talking about with Amanda Lemos, okay? She won the striking exchanges, but hey, let's willingly go to the ground with Mackenzie Dern. It was making me sweat for my money, man. Crazy. My biggest takeaway from this fight was I will never, ever, ever, ever bet on Amanda Lemos again. But she is, like, you have two fighters over here in the strawweight division who's clearly better than your typical WMMA fighter, okay? Like I said, I forget that Virna Jandiroba is 36 because her slowdown is going to come soon. But then again, she looks a little crazy, so maybe that'll be to her advantage. I don't know, man. I think Amanda Lemos is losing it a little bit as well. But then again, she's been taking on the top competition for almost 2 years now. Weili Zhang, she looked horrible, and she's coming off of 2 bad performances, though. That's what I'm really worried about. So here's the thing: you have Virna Jandiroba, who is coming off of good performances and an okay performance, and you have Amanda Lemos, who has been looking worse and worse and worse and worse. And if I want to rewind that, you got to win over Michelle Waterson Gomez. What does that mean? You might as well have, I don't know, beat up my 3-year-old daughter. Like, it's the same credibility there. And you have Jessica Andrade, who is a good fighter, and you ended up losing to. So perhaps we've been overrating, or at least I've been overrating Amanda Lemos this whole time. I don't know. I'm going to pick Virna Jandiroba. I like what I've seen from her so far. And hey, who knows? Like, of course, Virna Jandiroba wants to get the fight to the ground. Maybe Amanda Lemos will pull guard. Crazy. What a great main event. Now, come on. How much better would it have been to watch Jun Young Park versus Brad Tavares go 5 rounds? Seriously. Oh, sometimes, man. This will probably go 5 rounds, too. I don't care who wins the fight. Let's take a look at the odds over here. You have Virna Jandiroba sitting... Oh, wow. Almost a pick'em. Out of all the fights this time that I said should be pick'em, this is the pick'em. I think Virna Jandiroba should be bigger of a favorite. I'll consider hitting that. I will. I don't like what I've seen from Amanda Lemos lately. I'm picking Virna Jandiroba to get the win in the main event. Another UFC card that's been kind of like super weird to predict. Super, super weird. I don't know, guys. Hopefully the cards are better. I actually haven't looked at the cards coming up recently, but I know, but I might be missing the next pay-per-view, dude. Crazy. Hey, regardless, there's some sneaky good fights over here. I've been really enjoying LFA recently. UFC cards have been lacking a little bit, but I don't think they're nearly as bad as everybody says. I just have an issue with the main event, that's all. I want to see a better fight be 5 rounds. Regardless, let me know what you think about the picks down below. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for watching. If you're interested, the betting guide will be out tomorrow. And also, on the screen right now, have you watched cage side combos before, by the way? Great channel over there. I reacted to one of his videos over here. Great video. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you over there or in the next video. Take care.